You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There is a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for October 22nd, 2024. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where talking about penises is back on the menu, baby. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. Over to you, Arnold Palmer.
Every morning, whether I'm here in Latrobe or on the road, I'm out there making sure all the parts are working. I'm a guy who believes in taking care of the old equipment. Arnie likes it. It's just one of those things about me that's not going to change. You can count on it.
If you're of a certain age, you might remember a fictional DJ was fired from a fictional radio station for saying booger on the air.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day came when, quite unexpectedly, he was cleared to say booger on the air once again.
Listen, you do mean now?
Yes. And you can say booger if you want to.
That was WKRP in Cincinnati, which began airing in September of 1978. And for the past 30 years, using the P word on the air was like Johnny Fever saying booger before he was let out of radio jail. And of course, by P word, we mean...
I've got to see if my bits and pieces are still working.
Excuse me?
My wedding tackle.
I'm sorry.
My meat and tubage, my twig and berries.
No one dared to speak the P word out loud. Truly, the penis mightier than the sword. And I've been waiting a long time to use that joke, so thank you, Donald Trump. But thanks to Donald Trump, talking about penises is back. It's back in vogue, baby. Not since the pre-blogger days of the late 1990s has there been so much penis talk. What's changed since then, Blue Gal?
Back then, Republicans could not get enough penis talk because it was Bill Clinton's penis they were talking about. It was just dick, 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 dick all day long because, again, they're going to take down a Democratic president who is making them all look bad by accomplishing so much and being so much smarter than they were. And Bill Clinton was really stupid in this one area. But
very, very stupid and reckless. But
one man's penis sold newspapers and magazines. Scumbags like Ann Coulter made their careers by obsessing over a penis. This penis didn't just launch cable news programs. It actually made cable news profitable.
Woo.
And for a while there, Republicans presided happily over a golden age of penis talk. Newt Gingrich even dared to dream that this penis would be his key to the White House. Until scandal and corruption and his own adultery drove him out of office. Don't forget that.
Yeah. No, his plan apparently was take down Clinton and then take down Al Gore for covering up for Clinton. And then guess who gets to be president? Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. But it was not to be, because just like that, and here's the snapping of my fingers, the golden age of Republican penis talk was gone. You might remember that Republican Speaker Newt Gingrich was replaced by a guy named Republican Bob Livingston, whose own very, very brief career as man scolding Bill Clinton for having an affair was cut short after Livingston's own adultery was in fact discovered. Oh my.
Yeah, none of them could keep their penis in their pants.
No. But I do remember that Newt Gingrich, when he was caught for the third time, I think, or third mistress, announced that the reason he was committing adultery is because he loved America too much.
He loved America too much. Yes.
Yep. So, you know, there is no shame in their game at all. They don't have those human emotions that we do. But do you all remember exactly how Bob Livingston's hypocrisy was discovered? Bet you don't.
I didn't remember this story, so I'm grateful that you brought it up.
It's a great story. This is from The Guardian, December 23rd, 1998, from a completely different century. So respect. Quote, "The Political People versus Larry Flynt. A self-confessed porn king is behind Washington's latest spasm of self-disgust," Martin Kettle reports. When Bob Livingston saw Larry Flynt's now notorious $1 million advertisement in the Washington Post back in October, he didn't think too much about it. Today, having resigned as Speaker-elect from the House and planning to resign from Congress, he confesses He got it wrong in a big, big way. Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I didn't think of the impact of $1 million. The now you see him, now you don't Republican Party leader told the Post last week. I just can't believe that somebody would do that to me.
Yeah, it's not his fault for having an affair.
It was done to everybody has affairs, Blue Gal. It's just when Bill Clinton does it, it's an impeachable offense. But everybody's screwing everybody. Everyone knows this.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Bob Livingston. Welcome to the big leagues. Welcome to the big world. Welcome to the world of Larry Flynt. I just didn't think it possible that he would do what he did. Of course not.
Didn't think it was possible that Larry Flynt would do what he did. But it was entirely possible that Bob Livingston would do what he did.
Do it to me. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am?
Right.
Back to the quote from 1998. The rule books of American politics have been endlessly rewritten since the Monica Lewinsky story broke in January, and Washington was already punch drunk on the crisis before Mr. Flynt, the publisher of the sex magazine Hustler, grabbed it by the short and curlies last week, unquote.
It just brings me to the, Olivia Nuzzi story.
Yeah.
And the response of editors around Washington saying, well, everybody sleeps with their sources.
Yeah.
Really?
I thought they were going to say everybody sleeps with Olivia Nuzzi, but that's not
no, I wasn't going to say that.
True. No.
But really, the editors were,
Like, everybody does it.
Punchbowl News or wherever it was, just, that's not fireable. Everybody does it.
No.
Well, how come the audience out here in the Midwest doesn't know that? Well, you'd get all upset.
You'd get shocked. You'd be all shocked. You don't understand how the big city works. Mm-hmm.
And Driftglass, do you remember who replaced Livingston?
Oh, yeah.
I do.
The gentleman from Illinois, yes.
Yes. From CBS News, December 20th, 1998, quote, House Republicans rallied behind Representative Dennis Hastert of Illinois to be the new speaker, hours after Representative Bob Livingston announced Saturday he would not serve as speaker following his admission of marital infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
Majority Leader Dick Armey, Majority Whip Tom DeLay, and outgoing Speaker Newt Gingrich all endorsed Hastert. Representative Christopher Cox of California, chairman of the House Republican Policy Committee, said initially he might run for the position, but later decided against it. Representative Steve Largent of Oklahoma was in the race briefly, but threw his support to Hastert, unquote. That's a lot of dick puns in there.
There's an awful lot of it. And you got Cox, you got an army of dicks in Dick Army, and you have a large gent. So,
Large gent, yes. Yeah. And we all remember what happened with Denny Hastert, right? From USA Today, April 27th, 2016, quote, Judge sentences serial child molester Hastert to 15 months. Former House Speaker Dennis Hastert, who less than a decade ago stood second in line to the presidency, was sentenced to 15 months in federal prison Wednesday for a bank fraud case linked to allegations he sexually abused teen boys more than 30 years ago. Federal Judge Thomas Durkin called Hastert, 74, a serial child molester and rejected a prosecutor's recommendation of 6 months in prison on a banking charge that carries a maximum 5-year sentence. The court also fined Hastert $250,000 and sentenced him to 2 years of supervised release after leaving prison. Hastert must register as a sex offender.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, nothing is more disturbing than having serial child molester and Speaker of the House in the same sentence, Judge Durkin said, unquote.
Yeah. Of course, serial sexual predator and rapist and president in the same sentence is also pretty bad. But Republicans don't care about that anymore. They don't care. They don't care.
Don't.
And you know what? For one brief shining moment, this country had a golden age of Republican penis talk. And then Republican hypocrisy and depravity and corruption ruined it. And we all thought it was over for good. But then along came another Republican named Donald Trump, a Republican presidential candidate who wears more makeup than an entire RuPaul's Drag Race season, a Republican who loves nothing more than dancing to the single gayest song ever written by the hand of man, and who dances, well, it can only be described as a cognitive dissonance impairment double hand job.
It is definitely the double hand job. Yeah. Yeah.
A Republican candidate for president who spent 10 solid minutes at his rally reveling in the size of a dead golfer's penis. Now,
You know, that dead golfer's penis would make a better president than Donald Trump. I just want to say that.
I will also say dead golfer's penis was my band name in high school.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome, I gotta say. We were pretty amazing. Just like
Somebody played the accordion, right?
Nope, 9 trombones. Just 9 trombones.
9 trombones.
Yeah. Well, we were all tall and skinny and had long arms, so we could reach that last slide position. We weren't good, but we were plentiful. So come on, Republicans. Come on, media. This man is trying single-handedly, or rather double-handedly to be correct, to bring back the golden age of penis talk, upon which so very many of your careers were built. So why are you shying away now?
Yeah.
New York Times, your obsession with the great Clinton penis hunt is legendary. And yet here Trump is practically waving it in your face. And the best you could do reporting on Trump's Pennsylvania penis girth address in real time was this by Michael Gold of the New York Times. Quote, Donald Trump opened his rally at the Arnold Palmer Airport in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, with a 10-minute monologue about the golfer for which the airport is named and who grew up here. In the most pivotal battleground state with Election Day just 17 days away, the former president spent an entire opening telling Arnold Palmer golf stories before finally launching on the border, unquote. Now, first of all, by the way, Mike, here's a pro tip. It's for whom the airport is named, not for which the airport is named. So, consult your New York Times style book next time you decide to write something down. And for the record, by midnight, Mr. Gold had either found the courage internally, which I kind of doubt, or had gotten clearance from his editor, which is also dubious, to incorporate the P word into his wrap-up of the event around midnight.
I think enough people on social media were mentioning him by name as an example of what not to do is what happened. Yeah.
Oh, no. The public editor, meaning Twitter.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Politico handled 1300.
Well, I can understand handed and Penisgate are awfully closely related.
Politico handled Penisgate as gingerly as if it was a bomb threatening to detonate in their laps any second. Ow.
Ow, scary.
Quote, Trump appears energetic in scattered Pennsylvania speech. Trump is hoping to squash claims from Kamala Harris that he's exhausted on the campaign trail. In a scattered speech in must-win Pennsylvania on Saturday, Donald Trump stuck to many of the talking points on the economy and immigration that he hopes will deliver him a win in just over 2 weeks. But the former president also veered off course. Trump started the speech with over 10 minutes of rambling praise for golf legend Arnold Palmer, the namesake of the Western Pennsylvania airport hosting the rally, even bringing up Palmer's prowess in the locker room showers.
Mm-hmm.
Unquote. Prowess?
Yeah.
Prowess means you did something with the penis.
Yes, it does, doesn't it, Plugal? But,
I think Arnold Palmer's family ought to demand a correction on that.
Well, I know his daughter came out today and said, basically, what the hell? I hate you. My father would have hated you. And stop it.
My father had a real problem with Trump at the end of his life in 2016. Yeah. And But look, Trump is practically waving it in your face, legacy media.
Yeah. Come on. Penis talk. It's what you do. Come on.
It's what got you your careers.
Now, Jake Tapper did have nerve enough to ask the latest Republican degenerate to occupy the speaker's chair, Mike Johnson. Again, very unfortunate names here. Very, very unfortunate. About Trump's penis remarks directly.
Is this really the closing message you want voters to hear from Donald Trump? Stories about Arnold Palmer's penis?
In fact, Tapper asked him twice.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis in front of Pennsylvania voters?
And rather than being delighted at the chance to do what Republicans want to do, talk about penises, Johnson looked like he was trying to do what Alfred Bester called jaunting in the epic science fiction novel The Stars My Destination, trying to teleport himself away to anywhere else by sheer force of will. By the way, we went back to 1998, right, Blue Gal?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we talked about The Stars My Destination, right? So you get
everybody gets to take a drink for those two.
Science Fiction University.
Hold your horses.
That's a Science Fiction University and a No Fair Remembering
Remembering stuff.
in one super colossal awesome episode.
And so you've been able to take 2 drinks so far, right? On this
2
podcast.
Drinks. So hold your horses, people.
Hold on to your Tullamore Dew, because now we're going to seg to a short discussion of David Brooks.
How does one do that?
Start the clock.
How does one do that from a discussion of penises, Blue Gal? Very, very awkwardly, I would imagine. So, all right. So this was the week when last week, I think I mentioned on the podcast, David Brooks wrote a grudging, halting Kamala Harris, okay, I'm going to vote for her, in The Atlantic. That's one of his day jobs. This last week, he wrote a column in the New York Times detailing how Harris and Trump are both terrible.
Equally bad. Both sides.
Both sides. It was kind of, if you don't understand how completely fucked up David Brooks is and what a liar he is, it might have struck you as odd that after his endorsement, he would write this, they're both this, they're both that, they're both this, they're both that column about the 2 candidates, until you realize that you're a blogger with archives. And archives are awesome, Blue Gal. So I took my readers on a little tour of the past 20 years, back to Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and Donald Trump back in 2016. Back when it looked like it was going to be Bernie Sanders, there was a fair chance Sanders was going to win the nomination. David Brooks wrote a whole column, and I just stripped it down to sentence fragments, and it was Trump and Sanders, Trump and Sanders, Trump and Sanders, Trump and Sanders, just endless. They're both the same. They're both scary. They're both radical. They're identically terrible. And and for Hillary Clinton, the maelstrom is Sanders. For the rest of it is Trump. So Hillary, you poor woman, this crazy person is coming to take the nomination for you. Got it? So David Brooks writes an entire column comparing Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders as equally scary and terrible. Then Bernie Sanders loses the nomination. Hillary Clinton wins it. Shortly thereafter, David Brooks writes another column comparing Trump and Clinton, Trump and Clinton, Trump and Clinton, Trump and Clinton. Now, they're both equally terrible. They're both equally sinister. They're both equally frightening, which is bullshit. And this is pure David Brooks, mendacious, lying bullshit. This is why the Schultzberger family hired his fucking ass and put him on the op-ed page to write garbage like this. Election after election after election. It's always both sides. No matter how bad Trump is, Trump could come in and stomp Brooks's face into the mud. And he'd come up complaining about, well, Kamala Harris also. Remember, Democrats are equally. And then, of course, when you get mad at him, you go, well, I endorsed her over in the Atlantic. Why are you mad at me? And because I have archives, I know this goes all the way back to 2006, nearly 20 years ago, when Ned Lamont beat David Brooks's very good friend and fellow Iraq war pimp,
right,
Joe Lieberman, in a fair and square primary, and in the Democratic primary in Connecticut. And David Brooks had been freshly hired by the New York Times based on his awesome coverage of the Iraq war as the greatest thing ever. And now he's in a column, and his very good friend got beaten fair and square in a fair and square election. And David Brooks lost his fucking mind. He threw one of those tantrums that he almost never does anymore. He went on a screaming fit about how it was awful, how there's Tom DeLay on one side, the horrible Tom DeLay on one side, and there's the Netroots Tom DeLays on the other. And these are the Sunni and Shia of the American political system. And there's only one party that can save us, and that's the McCain-Lieberman Party.
McCain-Lieberman Party,
which he named after the 2 biggest Iraq war pimps in America. And only the McCain-Lieberman Party can save us from the extremes on both sides, Blue Gal. Wrote a whole column. There's essentially the template of everything he's written ever since then. And the
he
end
must
of
have
his
a whole lot of war stocks. I got to imagine his portfolio is just full of Northrop Grumman.
I cannot speculate about that.
No,
I cannot speculate about his financial interests. I know he has another job at the Atlantic now. He has like 9 jobs.
And the
jobs he has are him writing the same shit over and over and over again, which is always wrong. I can say that the end of the 2006 column about the McCain-Lieberman Party, about the rest of us in the center, the rest of us independents, the rest of us who value country over party, need to have this center thing. This is where he established the sacred center. Almost exactly the same paragraph is what ends his Kamala Harris and Donald Trump column, what are the rest of us are supposed to do with these extremes on both sides? All the rest of us, the center, the sacred center, the independents out there. What about us? And of course, the center, the sacred center is always David Brooks. Yeah. Wherever he is today, that's the place you have to be because that's the sacred center. And I was surprised, not surprised, that at this late date, David Brooks is still dipping into that same bullshit bag because either he's contractually obligated to write exactly the same fucking column for the New York Times every goddamn election, or he's just that mendacious and awful. I don't know which, but either one is pretty terrible. So I believe my 5 minutes are up. And
they are. Good timing. Good timing. You did well. Now, neither of us are impressed by New York Times David Brooks or New York Times Bret Stephens' 11th hour, angry, grudging, whiny endorsement of Kamala Harris.
Yep.
In both cases, but especially in Bret Stephens' case, the only way they could reconcile themselves to voting for an icky Democrat girl was to shit all over her before finally deigning to admit that Trump is slightly worse. And I want to talk about this because this is toxic masculinity on steroids. It's just horrible.
At the top of the op-ed page of the New York Times.
Yeah. Bret Stephens says, quote, "It's a 99.99% vote against Trump and a 0.001% vote for Harris." 0.001% vote for Harris.
Yeah.
Unquote. Then he has a long paragraph describing Kamala Harris as vacuous stumbling, capitulating to the party's left flank. Identity politics, mindlessly expanding the role of government. Mediocre advisors like her embarrassingly bad VP who has done nothing but help her in the polls. He has done nothing but help her in the polls over and over and over again.
Well, because it's not Josh Shapiro. Therefore, it's, unacceptable.
Just wait until Josh. I'm putting a flag in the sand that Josh Shapiro becomes Attorney General.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be really upset because Josh Shapiro is not a nice person.
No, he's not. When it comes to
prosecuting Republicans, he is not going to be a nice person.
No more Merrick Garland.
And he likes headlines. He likes being at the press conferences. He likes announcing that he's prosecuting people. He's not like you girls. I want to do that whole thing about, what is it? Merrick Garland? Very demure, very cutesy, very mindful. And then Josh Shapiro comes in and goes, "Oh, fuck that." Anyway, so here comes embarrassingly bad VP pick and her failed presidency. This is Bret Stephens. Her failed presidency will do more to turbocharge the far right in this country than to diminish it. And that's all her fault?
That far right, that's your party, Bret. That's your party.
He's talking about the Klan and Nazis. That's what he's talking about.
Which is his party.
She's a black woman, it's going to turbocharge them.
Well, her failed presidency.
That's her fault.
That's her fault.
Fuck him with a hot stick. So everything except uppity is what he included in this, which was dancing on the tip of his tongue. That Bret Stephens is quite a piece of work. I mean it. On this subject, we are as one with screenwriter, novelist, film director, and pragmatic progressive Allison Burnett, who wrote on social media, quote, "What a moral idiot Bret Stephens is, prolonging his big decision like a debutante clinging to her virginity until no one cares anymore. Tedious, narcissistic creep." Literally, that's unquote, but he thinks his opinion matters because it's on the pages of the New York Times.
Absolutely.
But look, what is with all these sullen, bitchy, last-minute endorsements? Well, number one, I think they all have access to internal polling.
Yeah, probably.
And so they're getting ahead of this.
Well, they're hedging.
Kamala Harris is going to Texas this week.
Yeah.
She doesn't do that unless she's got the time. She's certainly got the money. And to think that she's got the time to maybe beat Ted Cruz, but look, it'll make no difference whatsoever how these two assholes endorse in a pissy way Kamala Harris. This has nothing to do with November 5th. It has everything to do with after November 5th. Should Harris win, run outside, spit on the ground, turn around 3 times, every one of these pundits will use the sentence, "I say this as someone who endorsed her," to give extra credibility to the 100 columns they will write, slagging every single thing she tries to do.
Yeah, it's the Obama strategy all over.
It is.
It's
it absolutely
exactly
is.
The same thing. Yep.
Now, we at the professional left are absolutely ready for this bullshit. This idea that Harris owes her presidency to Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and the Bulwark, and that she must govern from the center. And as Driftglass reminded me during our rehearsal, remember where their center is.
Yeah.
How far to the right has that center been pushed in the past 40 years?
It's to the right of Ronald Reagan. It's way to the right of Ronald Reagan.
But she must govern from the center because her mandate, she owes her election to the Bulwark.
Right.
And she doesn't have a mandate to be a goddamn Democrat, which is what she is.
Mm-hmm.
But you know who's going to correct that assumption, Driftglass? Speaker Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, and I don't think that, you want to talk about turbocharging the racist right when the president and the Speaker of the House are both black.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a tough midterms. We might as well be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Guys.
You know it. Yeah.
2026, get ready to work again. I'm telling you.
By the way, there's a wonderful snip of audio out there by Snoop Dogg.
Oh, there is. We would not put that on our show because he uses the N-word, but he is entitled to use the N-word in this way.
Well, and we're not going to say who's entitled for what, but it is integral to the vocabulary he was using to describe the situation.
Yes,
100% appropriate for the occasion. And he really does break down what's happening, what's going to happen, what's likely going to happen. And the fact that, Barack Obama thought, well, after me, the racism will be diminished and we'll be able to get along. We're over our homophobia. No, absolutely not. It snapped back hard. And that's why they nominated Donald Trump, because he promised to be their Ku Klux Klan avenger for the black man they put in the White House. Mm-hmm. And you put a black woman in the White House and a black speaker on the speaker chair, it's going to be a lot. They're going to be a fewer of these people because they're going to die off, but it's going to be ugly, ugly, ugly for a long time to come.
Yep. I also want to mention that we at the professional left will be bringing a massive corn thresher to anyone demanding Republican light from the Harris administration.
Uh-huh.
Now, last night, Tim Walz was on The Daily Show, and he got quite an earful from former llama farmer and notorious both-siderist Jon Stewart on this.
The Cheney thing, do we really have to do that?
Look, it goes broader than that. Look, Bernie Sanders, Dick Cheney, Taylor Swift.
No.
The shooting?
No.
Having the Cheneys on board?
No. You can't Dick Cheney or Taylor Swift. No.
We're a big tent.
What country did Taylor Swift get us to invade? No.
Yeah. No, don't you think, though, that, and I do this, I believe this, there is still a core group of folks out there, your point being, and not joke, the don't tread on me, the Reagan piece of this, the libertarian piece, but the constitutional piece, there are a lot of people out there. I think Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney give permission to those folks who want to find a reason to do the right thing. It doesn't mean they agree with us. We're not going to take their foreign policy decisions and discussions, and implement those. We're going to take their
promise.
Yeah, in case you're recognizing this, it's an updated version of what they did to Hillary Clinton in 2016. Mm-hmm. Because back then, these same people saw no reason to curb their toxic vices because they never imagined Hillary Clinton would ever lose. It's not possible. 99% luck. She's going to win. She's going to win. And because they were completely invested in the illusion that she couldn't possibly lose, because she was the unbreakable, load-bearing pillar that was going to support their cloistered, privileged little world, no matter what they did to her, they felt free to treat her as their own personal stash of career advancement rocket fuel. Mm-hmm. She was a limitless natural resource they could plunder forever, strip mine forever, shit on forever, and then toddle safely off to bed knowing that however much they sliced her up during office hours, she would still be on the job long into the night, sweating over the details of the plight of the poor and the hungry and the uninsured and the unemployed, because she cared, and they don't. She would be the tireless pillar that would bear the weight of keeping the American experiment alive while everyone else fucked off and blew shit up for kicks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with this race nearly a statistical tie, these same clowns want to hedge their bets again. They'll endorse Harris with one very short sentence through very gritted teeth, and that'll be followed by paragraphs of telling us exactly how much they loathe us Democrats, how awful we all are, and exactly how ruthlessly they're going to be gunning for her from day one should she win.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
And we have no patience for it.
No.
I mean, and they were ready with miles of column space to talk about how how Hillary Clinton didn't have a mandate because she was running against a clown.
Right. And
this, that the no mandate for Harris is coming. I hope we keep the Senate. I know we're going to gain seats in the House, but I hope we hold on to the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Go Sherrod Brown. But, of course, there's all kinds of news today about Sherrod Brown's opponent. You should go look at Ohio Senate race and search for that, because he's really shit the bed. But we are going to have to protect this presidency.
Yes,
she's got maybe 13 months.
Yeah.
To get anything done.
Her and Tim. She's going to use Tim. And Tim is just, we heard him talk. He was on podcast Smartless.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's like, he is a game day player, man. He's really good at this. He talks the talk. He's very, very affable. And he said, look, my deal with her was plug me in anywhere. Send me anywhere. Right. Anywhere I can be of assistance, put me there and I'll do. And that's what you want in a vice president. That's what she did for Joe Biden.
I think he is a wonderful model for Christians in public service.
Yep.
His emphasis on service over power was a remarkable statement.
Yeah.
And Kamala Harris gave an answer this week at a panel where she was sitting next to Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
But she talked about do not despair. And it's up at Cricks and Liars if you want to go watch it.
She's really good at this.
I looked at you and I said, this is better than Obama.
It really was. She's awfully good at this. She's awfully good at this.
So,
and in the Smartless podcast, Tim Walz did get into, look, I don't like to talk about my faith.
Yeah, right.
But, because it's not something that, unlike Donald Trump, who thinks he is Jesus or better than Jesus, and his followers who worship him as Jesus and talk, every one of the assholes on Twitter that trail you around and shit all over you. You look in their bio, the Second Amendment, First Amendment, Christian, dad, proud patriot. No, bunch of bullshit. You are none of those things. Maybe you're a father. I can't vouch for that. Everything else about you is a lie. But Tim Walz is really clear. I don't talk about my faith, but here's what I believe, and here's why I think it's so important. And and we're just basically Catholics who sing better or sing more. So
sing more, and we are here to serve.
Right.
That's
his entire resume.
Mission is to serve, and that's why he says, "Plug me in where I can be most useful."
Yeah,
and it's calling Elon Musk a shithead or whatever.
A dipshit. Call him a dipshit. That's such a good '80s Midwestern high school insult.
Oh, don't be a dipshit. Come on,
such a dipshit. My God, what a dipshit. All right, on with the news.
All of those little swears, by the way, are to seal the deal with young white men.
Yes.
In the Midwest.
Yes, because that's how your dad talks.
That's a coach talking to you man to man.
You got me all riled up here, and I'm sorry I called you a dipshit. Okay, but you got me kind of cranky, and
but
that's
you
what
were
happens.
Running down the field the wrong way. You're kind of doing a dipshit thing now. All right, Driftglass. Let's do a news roundup.
Let's do that.
This week, our president and yours, Joe Biden, reposted a Bloomberg headline from 2 years ago. Oh, that's like no fair remembering stuff.
I know.
In which Bloomberg economists predicted a 100% chance of a recession within 12 months. But the recession never came.
Yeah.
You know why? Investment. That's why. President Biden's reaction, quote, "Proving the critics wrong will never get old," unquote.
Yeah. On the other hand, this was Donald Trump's message to voters this week. Quote,
out loud.
Get your fat husband off the couch. Get that fat pig off the couch. Tell him to go and vote for Trump. Unquote. Yeah, I bet you How many times has he heard that from every one of his wives? Yeah.
Absolutely. Every one of his wives told him that, and that's where there's a little brain cell in there that popped open.
Say fat pig, say fat husband, fat pig. It's relatable. Yeah, it's relatable to slobs like you. Yeah.
In Michigan, Trump made an impassioned case for immunity for cops.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two. I mean, maybe some are guilty of something, but I would bet you a lot of them aren't. We have to stop being politically correct.
Yeah.
And let cops kill black people, he didn't say.
Yeah, that's the well, and start with them, but work their way up to everybody else who's my political opponent. This was the week that Donald Trump criticized Abraham Lincoln, who, by the way, is buried 2 miles from here, for not just cutting some kind of deal on slavery, to avoid the Civil War. Just do a deal. Just do a deal.
He did do a deal.
Yeah.
He burned Atlanta to the ground and walked all the way to the sea.
Yeah, well, that was the deal. The deal was...
Pray I don't change the deal again.
Yeah. I kind of like the vision of Lincoln as Darth Vader,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and I do like the fact that Republicans, especially people like Joe Scarborough and David Brooks, just moon over Lincoln the Uniter. Why can't we be uniters? And I'm like, I would love us to have a uniter like Lincoln running the Democratic Party.
There'd still be Union troops south of the Mason-Dixon with
that would be fucking
Lincoln
awesome.
The Uniter.
Yeah. After we crush...
Those Georgia elections would be a whole lot fairer.
Wow. 98%. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. No, I would... Believe me, in my science fiction brain, that's what should have happened, but that's not what did happen.
Yeah. This was Trump on Fox and Friends in response to a question about how he will fix schools in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Got that?
Yeah.
How will you fix schools in the Bronx? No transgender. No operations. They take your kid. There are some places your boy leaves the school, comes back a girl without parental consent. What is that all about? Unquote. As you said earlier, Driftglass, it means you picked up the wrong kid.
Yeah, come on. This is an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show. You got the wrong baby. That's all. It was a mix-up. You got the wrong kid. You weren't noticing when you put him in the car. You got the wrong kid. And honestly, hearing him answer questions like this and answering questions like, Howie Kurtz, bless his heart, Howie Kurtz actually pushed him on the dogs and the cats. And Trump's answer is, I read it. I read it in a thing. And, there's no way to prove it's not true. And I'm like, that's the base. That's the Trump base. They're fucking morons. They believe every stupid thing they believe or they read from any crackpot source that tells them what they want to believe. And there's no debunking it. And the minute you push back, which Howie Kurtz did, but it has been debunked. What about the geese? What about the geese, huh? That's
been debunked too.
Well, and there's no stopping it because their brains are fucking oatmeal. They're just fucking awful. And they will not stop believing the next lie and the next and the next. This was Trump bragging about killing the bipartisan border bill. They say I told Republicans to kill the bipartisan border security bill. I sort of like that. No one has had the power like that in a long time. Yeah, fuck you, I did it. I'll do it again. That's mobster talk.
Yes,
sure, I killed him. Fuck you, I killed him. Of course I did. Go ahead and try to stop me.
ABC News reports that Donald Trump refused to denounce violence against FEMA workers in North Carolina.
I just read something. I don't know. Maybe it's true. There's no debunking it. Let's move on. A number of cities have accused former President Donald Trump, this will shock you, of skipping town without settling the check after staging events there. Oh, no. He stiffed a bunch of vendors and local municipalities for the cost of the venue and the cops and everything else. Shocking.
All right, you evangelical Christians, someone asked Donald Trump about Jesus this week.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about Jesus, Donald Trump? Nobody's done what I've done in terms of religion, in terms of Christianity.
Yeah. You've driven more people out of the pews, I think, than maybe any other single person in the last 20 years. Elon Musk, multi-billionaire Elon Musk, and owner of the Twitter platform, pledged $1 million every day in a bid to galvanize Republican voters. Musk said his America PAC will give money to people who sign petitions to support First and Second Amendments. The first two winners are both registered Republicans who have already voted. Of course, that's not the point. The point is to lure people into it with the promise of winning $1 million.
He's a dipshit.
What would you do with $1 million, Blue Gal?
Oh, wow. What would I do with $1 million?
Yeah.
I'd give it to you, and you would start a community service foundation in Springfield, Illinois.
I would. Well, partly. Also a writer's workshop, a blogger writer workshop.
Right? Blogger writer's workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'd have
a lot going on with that.
Where you can go once or twice a year and work with other bloggers and hone your writing skills, your media skills and your writing skills. And all expenses paid and breakfast in bed. And we'd hire failed former Congress people to come bring you breakfast in bed. Not Denny Hastert, though. Hastert can't come.
No Denny Hastert.
No Hasterts. Mm-hmm.
So that whole Donald McDonald stunt.
Yeah.
The place wasn't even open. It was all staged and fake. He didn't work for real at a McDonald's. It was a staged fraud, just like every other event. To quote friend of the pod, Hal Sparks, quote, Trump worked at McDonald's like he fucked Stormy Daniels. It was 3 minutes of awkward fumbling around, followed by a half hour of bragging to anybody within earshot. How long before he offers Ronald McDonald hush money? Unquote.
Bravo,
That's
Hal Sparks.
Hal, you made us laugh. Thank you.
You did. Trump Super PAC sent out a bogus. This is just pure evil, by the way. The last one was funny. This is just straight up evil. Trump Super PAC sent out a bogus Medicare cancellation notice to scare voters about Kamala Harris. One of the largest pro-Trump Super PACs has dropped a massive mailing of Medicare cancellation notices, letting senior citizens know that Kamala Harris is preparing to end the program or at least throw them off of it. As David Corn reports at Mother Jones, some of the richest men in America are behind it. MAGA Incorporated is the top pro-Trump Super PAC. It has raised over $300 million during the 2024 campaign, most of it from Republican billionaires, including Howard Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, Paul Singer, a hedge fund manager, Charles Kushner, name sounds familiar because he's the father of Jared Kushner, and real estate magnate who went to jail for tax evasion and for retaliating against a federal witness, and who Trump pardoned, and Timothy Mellon, the reclusive heir to the Mellon banking fortune, who has pumped in over $150 million. These are the Nazi Germany industrialists who backed Hitler. It's a straight one for one.
100%. Michigan MAGA Evangelical Church worship leader, Christian recording artist Zachary Radcliffe has been arrested and charged with 6 counts of sexually abusive activity related to children. As friend of the pod, Matthew Sheffield asked, why is it always the people you most suspect?
It's always I swear to God, every week there's some new MAGA evangelical preacher out there.
Pastor type.
And it's always children, and they're giving the Catholic Church a run for their money. Local news. In local news, there's another town called Springfield, but this one's in Missouri. But Missouri's right next to us. In fact, I went to Missouri twice in the last 4 days, didn't I, Blue Gal?
You did.
I did. Dateline Springfield, Missouri. As the November general election inches closer, it almost feels inevitable that there will be more reports of election signs stolen out of yards or from out in front of businesses. One Springfield woman was able to not only get her sign back, but to confront the person she believes took it and got it all on video. Quote, this has been the 4th sign that's been stolen from my yard, unquote, Laura McCaskill said. So she and her partner John did something different this time. They used an Apple AirTag and hid it with the sign. This past weekend, their Harris-Walz sign was stolen. Other Democratic candidate signs were untouched, per McCaskill, and they got a hit on their tracker. They initially tracked it to a Springfield restaurant, then eventually back to Nixa, where they arrived at a home residence. We rang the doorbell because my partner recognized the car, McCaskill said. After speaking with a neighbor, they eventually got a hold of a woman who came out and spoke to them. Ozark First, which is the group reporting this, is not naming anyone McCaskill spoke to since formal charges have not been filed as of this time. Quote, she finally came up and we said hello. And we said, we think you have something in the car that was taken from our neighborhood, McCaskill said. She said that was her son's car. And she said, this is the woman. Well, he's just an idiot. And then she goes back in and we thought, well, that's interesting. McCaskill showed the young man on her phone that the AirTag was nearby. And McCaskill says he says it was in the trunk. I expected to find the AirTag, but not 59 signs. It was kind of like finding a dead body. It was like, are you kidding me? Most people, they take them, they throw them away in a dumpster, or they throw them in someone else's yard. It was like there was a bounty on the signs, McCaskill said. McCaskill recorded the confrontation and posted it on social media, where you can find it and watch it if you so choose. In the video, you can see dozens of signs in the trunk of a car before the mother of the man grabs them and says, "Here you go, liberals," and tosses them in the direction of McCaskill and her partner, calling the situation stupid. Quote, "If I was just dealing with the young man, I would have been easier to forgive. But the fact that the signs were thrown at us and there was no accountability and this was trespassing on 59 people's properties, it was entitlement, is wrong here." The young man then tells his mother to go inside. "Shut up, Mom, go inside, you're making it worse," before offering to help load the signs into McCaskill's car. In the video, McCaskill and her partner share that the signs carry a $20 donation, meaning if there were a total of even 50 signs, let alone 59 or 60, that's already a total of $1,000 in signage in the trunk of the young man's car, which I believe makes it a felony.
And then he tried to argue about the price per sign with her.
Yeah.
Because he's caught dead to rights.
Right. And that's a great subject to bring up in front of a judge.
In front of a judge.
Yeah. Let the judge decide.
With this video.
Right.
And with his mother saying, "Here you go, liberal," and physically tossing them at her.
Right.
Yes, yes. This is from the the Illinois Economic Policy Institute. And I want to be clear about this. This is not the right-wing slop house. That's called the Illinois Policy Institute. These are good guys. They're researchers. And the Illinois Economic Policy Institute reports, U.S. added union members for the second straight year. According to the 2024 State of the Unions report by the Illinois Economic Policy Institute and the Project for Middle Class Renewal, the U.S. saw an increase in union membership for the second consecutive year, with Illinois experiencing its highest number of successful union petitions in a decade. Go Illinois unions! And you know, J.B. Pritzker couldn't be prouder.
He couldn't be prouder, honestly.
Hey, feel free to write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service on topic. Go Postal Unions! Letter on the air unless you say otherwise.
Don't forget our gourmet coffee guidelines. If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself, buy one for us. This is not charity. This is our job. If you can spare $5, please spare $5 a month at patreon.com/proleftpod. And another thing you can do that we deeply appreciate is sharing our show on social media. So if you love this podcast, please get someone else to listen to. And thank you so much for doing that.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties have tried Arizona Arnold Palmer half and half iced tea lemonade light. And you know what? It's not bad.
It's got a lot of big dick energy in it, does it, Driftglass?
I'd rather not think about that when I'm putting something in my mouth, Blue Gal.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.